All right, we're live, Cap. How you doing, Cap? Dr. Evil here.
Uh, I'm doing good, Captain Paul. We got a problem here, man.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little under the weather. I do want to first apologize to the viewers. We were supposed to go live at 11 a.m. and instead we went live at 11 p.m.
1 p.m. Yeah.
So apologies for that. Um, I am coming down with something, and
Uh,
Paul didn't have a great pain day today.
no, it's hip's been bothering me a bit, so it's just been kind of a whole process where just wasn't feeling too hot and a lot of stuff going on, so not feeling great. But wanted to bring you forth at least a show on a Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we have a very interesting conversation to have today, a little bit more serious,
Yeah.
especially due to the
I think we're gonna
material.
get a lot of hate, man. I mean, we speak with nuance in mind, right? Like we
Yeah.
don't believe in we don't believe in just making everything, some sort of one issue vote or trying to say that one group is good and one group is bad. We speak, with nuance in mind. But I get the feeling that even touching the subject, some people are going to be like, "Oh, they're going to come to our side." And some people are going to be like, they're talking about this. So that means that they're against us. I mean, I don't know, Cap. But I still think that it needs to be spoken about. And, one of the things I wanted to say, especially in light of, like that segue, right? What's up, Watt? In light of, what happened with the whole, just pearly things fiasco, people assume that uh, men that have podcasts are going to be just shitting on women all the time, which is not
Not the
either shitting
case.
on them or pandering to them, one or the other.
Yeah.
We have a lot of different things to talk about in the world. There's a lot going on, and I think that a lot of people who are much like us, who respect the Second Amendment, but also
Right.
recognize that there is a problem with children being targeted. Um,
Yeah. It's a lot of school shootings, mass violence. It's just you know,
Oh,
as someone that
can I do one thing, Cap? Can I give a shout out to Blind Bat real quick? Blind Bat is the one that brought the material to my attention earlier today, and I said, well, I was going to talk about something else, but instead, I am going to we're going to go in this direction. So I just want to give a shout out to Blind Bat, and as always, you guys know. Hey, what's up, Lavaris? How you doing? As always, we want to let you guys know that if there's anything that you want us to cover and we think that we can successfully cover it, Talking Podcast LLC at gmail.com. Okay, TALKINSHITPODCASTLLC at gmail.com. If you're watching us on another platform and you want to help us grow our uh, audience here on YouTube, youtube.com / at TALKINSHIT. We have some underscores in between the talking and the shit, and another underscore in place of the I on our social media. You can
yep.
find us on Twitch, Twitter, and Narstagram. Don't know how much longer we're going to be on those, but whatever.
I mean, we'll
Jeremy Lewis
see.
is here. How you doing?
What's going on, Jeremy? I mean, I think when it kind of comes down to it, this whole Nashville situation with another school shooting, it makes you really think. And as someone that wants to have a family here relatively soon, it makes, like, what am I going to do with my kids? Do I want to go to school, even at private schools, because of someone's hateful agenda? Do I want to wake up, go to work one day after I drop my kid off at school and find out they're dead? Because I would go on a rampage. And like legitimately, I don't understand how we've gotten to this point where people are just going in there and just lighting up on kids that are like 9 years old. It's beyond ridiculous. And I'd have to say this. I hate to say this. I'm considering homeschooling, and as you know, my wife, she's a teacher. So like in the back of my mind, at times I'm thinking like, like this shit's getting a little crazy. Like, do I even want her being in this profession?
Right, because we always talk about the kids, and you know what? It's crazy you said that, Cap. I didn't even think about that, because if you look at what happened in Tennessee, we always want to focus on the people that had much more life to live. But I think that you should be able to go to work at age 60 or 61 and expect to go home that day.
Absolutely.
You're not a police officer. You're not a firefighter. You're not a guy that climbs 500-foot poles with no safety harness.
No.
You work in a school around little kids. You should expect to go home.
Yeah, I mean, your biggest concern should be just your syllabus or, the agenda for the day. It really shouldn't be about going home. I mean, worry about like going home alive. That's not what that job entails. I mean, like for my career field on the water, we actually have a high fatality rate because the nature of my work is dangerous.
Right.
Whether I enjoy it and I love the job, but if you're standing in the wrong place in the bite of a line, you can get snapped in half. I've actually seen it. So it's one of those things where you have to be very precautionary. But like I understand going into that job, the reason why I get compensated so highly is I could die, and that's just a legitimate.
No, wait, I thought it was because we hate women that you get paid so highly.
No,
I thought that was the reason.
I get paid so highly so I can take care of my wife, and while, like I said, and we've had some genuine conversations. I don't, especially when things take off and I get back to work because of after the surgery and I get some money. I mean, I don't know if I want her in this field because the lunacy's crazy. She loves teaching the kids, and she really does enjoy like helping that age group get better and better and learn more things, and she's very passionate about it. But to me, I don't want to go to work, go off on a boat one day, get a fucking phone call, and my wife's dead because some fucking psycho decides to get angry one day and shoot up a school. And that's, not, in a minute, that's from a selfish standpoint, but it pisses me off that these people with mental issues, go into situations and destroy people and take people off the census that had nothing to do.
Families. Remember, we talk about the people that die. We're talking about everybody that knew any of the deceased. Their lives are ruined. Lavaris here says, remember Dad's on duty at high school in Louisiana? Because there were so many fights at that school. We need that around the country. I get what you're saying, Lavaris, but what do you do when you're at an elementary school and a 28-year-old drives up into the parking lot? What do you do then? Because you could say, well, you could have a bunch of men who should be at work at the school ready to be, targets to absorb, but then those are fathers still lost, right? Like, I think that, we have to address a lot of the issues that lead to the violence. I mean, again, Watt is talking about firearm training. Again, now you're having shootouts in the school.
I
stop the actual violence part of it.
I mean, I think what it kind of comes down to it, if we're going to start arming
teachers don't get paid enough to be fucking armed security guards.
I was just
daycare. In addition to educator. In addition, I was just going to say that if you're going to arm teachers and make them get mandatory training, you're going to have to up the salary by quite a bit. There's just, and quite personally, in my opinion, even cops on the force right now, some people aren't qualified, or some people shouldn't be in those stressful situations. I mean, we saw what happened in Texas, what Uvalde had. Like a bunch of those officers just standing. Well, Uvalde, thank you. People guy just in there murdering kids, and they're just standing out there because they're too cowardly to rush in there, where it was a complete juxtaposition. Yes, no, you can absolutely call them fucking cowards because listening to children fucking die. You sign up in that profession to defend the community. You see the Nashville response?
2 minutes and 30 seconds, and the attacker's dead. And yes, they're cowards. I'm sorry. Those people, those officers that just stood there while children are dying, to me, are fucking cowards. Okay, and I have no, like, to me, where you see that in Nashville, they go in there quick. No, they're not worried about themselves. They're trying to save lives. Still lives lost. But if Nashville officers weren't as efficient as they were, more children would have been shot and killed because of that fucking nut job. Sorry, it's just, when it pisses me off just thinking about that footage because as you know, I watch a lot of these body cams and the footage. It just a lack of action.
Officers was about to go in and
got stopped.
Superior officer was like, "No, don't."
Yeah, it just
like wait until they've emptied 3 or 4 more clips. I mean, that's what it seemed like to me. But
I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, when it kind of comes down to it. We're getting to a boiling point in the United States of America. Now, I know, like I'm seeing in the comment right there, thank you, USA cannot be like Canada. One is safer, but the USA makes more money through weapons. But Canada don't need that trash, but I don't know how much about U.S. politics. I mean, in Canada, it's very restricted for you to get a rifle, and I know someone that actually hunts up there in Canada, but it's just a completely different culture. The United States compared to Canada. You're not going to get rid of guns. Now, if somebody is a Second Amendment supporter and someone that owns firearms himself, I don't feel like my rights should be infringed because of nut jobs. But I think there's got to be far better things in place as background checks and maybe some mental evaluations. So, you can't get rid of these altogether because nut jobs will do what nut jobs do. Mm-hmm. And to be fair, no matter how good of a background check you get, that person that just committed that act, they had nothing on their background. So like if you just do an advanced background check, they're not a criminal. So they're going to still be able to obtain those firearms. That's why there needs to be a better evaluation. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves because there's going to be a further discussion while you bring up the statistics that are shown. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, there's got to be some change in the system in which firearms are sold and how people can acquire them. Because this is just nuts. The mental unstable of this country are either acquiring the guns themselves or getting them through family members, and they're killing people because they're deranged or they're angry and upset at the world and they decide to lash out and take out people that had nothing to do with their problems. And that's where I agree with you and Lavares. Yeah, the guns are not the problem. Is the people that is perpetuating the violence that is the problem. The lack of mental health stuff, the mental health issues, the amount of mental health issues that we have in this country that are either undiagnosed or just not properly treated. This is where we're seeing a lot of this on the rise. I mean, what is your opinion? I mean, what do you think we should do?
Well, I think that, sorry. First, I want to kind of like check out because I think we need to understand what we're dealing with first before we can say anything about what we should do. We need to know what we're up against. Is that fair?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's take. Oh my God! What the fucking pop-ups? Come on. All right. Let's get into it here. Firearms accounted for nearly 19% of childhood deaths from ages 1 to 18 in 2021, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Nearly 3,600 children died in gun-related incidents that year. That's about 5 children lost for every 100,000 in the United States. In no other comparable country are firearms within the top 4 causes of mortality among children. So we're not talking about countries where citizens don't have access to guns or gun rights or anything like that. We're talking about other countries that also have gun rights, that also have a proliferation of guns. And this is, one of the things I want to really make clear. And I've said this in the past. So before a progressive Democrat tries to get on my ass, my first preference is for every firearm in the world, every single one of them, to be destroyed. However, that's not realistic, right, Cap? We're not.
Nope,
We don't think that's realistic.
No.
So, since we know that that's never going to happen, I would rather have a chance of defending myself than to only have a cell phone in my hand dialing 911 while a gun is pointed at my head or
Yeah.
chest.
Correct.
So, children are more likely to be killed by a gun than in a car accident. Firearms have been the leading cause of death for U.S. children and teens since 2000, representing 19% of all deaths for children age 18 years and younger in 2021. The top 5 cause of death for children is this here. Okay, so let's take a look. Can you fuck off with the fucking pop-up, CNN?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's get into this, okay? We have poisoning here. If you look at poisoning here at the bottom,
It's making
it
the
is on
sun
an
rise.
uptick a little bit.
Yep.
We have seen, with drug use becoming more socially acceptable, this does not surprise me at all. The other, one of the other top 5 causes is suffocation. So, we've done a lot to try to keep like plastic bags away from kids and sudden infant death syndrome and things of that nature. We're trying to keep that down for whatever reason. We did see an uptick in the 2010s, and now it's on its way back down. Cancer.
That's good.
I mean, I think everybody should be like, fuck cancer, right?
Absolutely.
How old were you when cancer came for you?
18 and a half. I got diagnosed. Had to leave school. Went back. A few years later, I had to come back again. Actually, 8 months later, I came back. I had to leave school again. And then I've had, it was about a 5-year stretch where I was going through it. But yeah, I mean, around 18.
Right. So, obviously, the world needed, to see you continue to be here. So we're happy that you're still here. We're not happy that the other children
No. I mean,
are not here. We're not happy about that whatsoever. So we want to really make that clear. But Cap, you're a survivor, and you were diagnosed at age 18, which means that the disease was developing before age 18.
Yep.
So, cancer is a really, really big problem. Now, cancer mortality rates seem to be dropping a little bit.
Yeah.
But it is roughly the same rate it was 20 years ago. So we still have a long way to go. Okay. Now, the overall.
This is remarkable. Yeah.
Motor vehicle accidents with the child seats, and we have the anti-drunk driving initiatives. I mean, whoa. And Mrs. Evil makes a crazy point. If you're looking at, this line, it goes from 15.5, and then it jumps in 2020 to 18.2, and then 2021. If you look at these 2 plot points right here, right?
Right.
The kids weren't even at school; they were at home.
Yeah. I mean.
And the Rona was killing a lot of people, including children. So you would have thought that COVID-19 would have made this list. It didn't.
I mean, right? I think when it kind of comes down to it, you look at the significant trend. Look from that plot point where it goes across the 15 for the firearm. What year is that? Right with that top point on the 15. Would like a little back to your left. Right where it gets there. You kind of notice an uptick in trend. Like, I mean, obviously, firearm, there's an upward trend since 1999, but it does seem like there's a significant jump within that last few years.
Yeah, from 2013.
13 upwards.
And then, so we're talking about the last decade. It's just, wow.
Yeah, it's a significant problem.
And it's like, first we have to first know what we're up against.
Right.
2019, you saw that they both are around the 15.5
right
area here. They kind of beat here. And, it's great that motor vehicle accidents are accounting. I mean, obviously we have better safety systems in vehicles now than we did before.
Correct.
So that's good. You're seeing that cancer rates are starting to drop. It's bad that poisonings are going up. Suffocation. Oh, but also when you talk about poisonings, one of the things that you have to factor in is the higher rate of self-deletion, of self-termination among young people, and they could also be using
Like
things like
overdosing.
poisons as well.
Yeah.
So that might factor into this as well. But poisons are up, suffocations are down, cancer is down, motor vehicles down, and you can see where it was. I mean, it was like
It was ridiculous.
almost
Yeah.
1 in 3, about 1 in 4, a little bit more than
Yeah.
1 in 4 for a while, and now you see this steady decline. So, I mean, these it's good to see downward trends. However,
Yeah.
the firearms and the poisonings is really starting to show that a lot of these kids are struggling ways. Lutch had a video in his channel where he was reviewing how teenagers viewed themselves in the world, and they asked a question about whether those kids thought that they had it easier or harder than previous generations in high school. And some of the kids thought they had it easier because of modern technology. I was like, yo, I did not have to worry about some dude running up in the school or some chick running up in the school, blasting it up. And I lived in the worst neighborhoods in New York City during a really tough era when it came to dealing with crime, especially violent crime, especially gang violence.
Yeah, I mean,
I never had to worry about that.
I think when it kind of comes down to it, you obviously see the massive jump up since 2013, and then you see a little bit more of a spike once the Rona hit, right? And yeah, kids were taken out of school, and this is another part of the conversation is I feel like some of the kids got really badly affected on the psychological side from being taken out of normal life and then just into isolation completely to a lot of degrees. Obviously, some may have still socialized, but there was a lot of, I mean, I don't know about you, there was a lot of mental stress throughout that whole pandemic, right? Where it's like, if I get it, am I going to be here? If I get it, like, how is my family going to go? It was just an extremely it's an extremely stressful time. And from the school aspect of it, socialization at that age is important. And I would kind of argue to kind of go about like, I actually don't think he's wrong though.
That's great. I could not. If you would have asked me 20 years ago, I would have thought that they would have turned all boys into girls before this became a viable statement.
I mean, but I agree with this even back in our day, Evil, I'll just put it this way. Kids can be assholes, right? Like they can be pretty vicious. And it can get to a certain level. It can escalate to a certain level where I think it's kind of getting out of hand, where shit used to be done with fist fights. I'm not condoning that, but I was in a lot of fights in high school, not glorifying it. Never even thought of like a gun being involved in it once. Like there was a knife once, right? But there was never like a gun involved in any of these situations. And it's just weird. I don't know if it's like a lack of empathy, or how would you put this? A desensitization of the youth, but they are far quicker to grab a gun and unload a whole mag than to throw some hands and try to deal with it that way. And this is actually where I wanted to go with it. You said on Lutch's stream that he kind of like, it was easier right now to be in school. I would actually say it's more difficult. Not just because of the gun hole scenario, but bullying isn't just at the school anymore. It's 24/7. Like, it's online. Like, if you have an online profile and you're getting bullied, people can mock you, make fun of you, like use Photoshop.
Like when you were younger.
Yeah, like I think, and I'm not blaming social media. I think there's like a myriad of many different factors going on here, but I also don't think we can't look that out the window. Where I think there's also an impact of social media regarding how kids will go to that violent level because it's no longer just at the school. It's 24/7 and they can't get away from it. And I mean, getting back to the conversation, what can be done? I mean, I have a federal license, as you know, right? And in my licensing, I have to pass a psych eval, a health eval. I need to make sure I know what I'm talking about. I need to be very good with my practicals, right? I have to re-up for my license every 5 years and pass everything needed. If I go to a psychiatrist or anything for mental, right, for my license, I lose it. That's actually a thing on my federal license. Mm-hmm. This is where I'm going with it, and this is something I've always been a proponent of. Personally, I think every American should have the right to buy a firearm, but I think there needs to be far more things in place to make it a little bit more difficult. I think, just like with a car, where we have driver's ed, there should be at least a 6-month course, if not a year course, that you have to attend at like a firearm instruction or a firearm academy, quote unquote, so you know how to fire your weapon, how to clean it, and all the particulars you're looking to get into. Because another thing people don't want to talk about is there's a lot of people that buy a firearm, have no idea what they're doing, and end up killing themselves or hurting themselves, right?
Yeah, a lot more people die in accidents that involve firearms. So sometimes a lot of the firearm deaths aren't that, people are aiming at kids. Sometimes there are mistakes made with the weapon. Sometimes the kid finds a weapon and plays with it.
Yep, and I think if any dangerous behavior has happened on the range, you completely kicked out the program, right? Like if you're like joking around, trying to point at someone, which you laugh at, who do that? There's pretty idiots that do that. Mm-hmm. And they get kicked off the range and you get kicked out of the program, and then you maybe have to go through an appeal process to maybe try a second time. But if you have any type of mental illness, PTSD, bipolar disorder, depression, you should not have the ability to access a firearm if it's documented in your medical record. And now that might be a little controversial, a little bit too much for some of my conservative-leaning friends, and I get that. But we have a massive issue with a bunch of unhinged motherfuckers getting these guns. And
I gotta ask you this. Let me ask you this, because I gotta, because somebody could say, well, if you want to get somebody in a position where you don't want them to be able to defend themselves, can't you get some sort of crooked doctor to diagnose them, to take their guns from them? Like what? I mean, what kind of parameters do they have to decide whether you have these conditions?
Mm-hmm. I mean, you do bring up a valid point, and that is the hole in that argument, right? That is the hole in that, and I will fully acknowledge that. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could have third-party arbiters that are a big
fucking question too. That's a big question, Xenon. We'll come back to this later.
You can check out the Patreon for my opinion on that, but I think.
Yeah.
But I think when it kind of comes down to
put that, I want everybody to know the video, the extended video to the Audrey Hale video that we made yesterday. That was a little bit too spicy for YouTube. That's on all 3 levels. So if you're just at the $2 level, you don't have to be at the $5 or the $10 for that. Some of our more spicy videos that we can't really get away with on YouTube, we're going to make them available for every level on the Patreon. So, the extended version where Paul kind of, I said, hey, Cap, we need to pull that video down because... we're going to get a community guideline strike for that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I said anything super crazy, but I think
it was enough for a guideline strike. So
that is definitely a hole in the system, and I'll agree with that philosophy because there is corruption. But I hate to say it, man. Politics are all corrupt. So, but even if you take out the mental evaluation, which I think is important, and which I have to go through and through my federal government job. So maybe I'm just kind of numb to that. So for a lot of people, that might be like a big whoa. But to me, when I'm looking at it, I mean, at least make it a 6-month to a year program. And if there's any inclinations of it being a possible dangerous situation, they can't pass the course.
Right.
But what is a deeper background check going to prevent Nashville? No, there's no criminal background record. I mean, and can you get? And this is the other argument that liberals will just ban all guns, get rid of all guns. That's not going to solve it. There's still like hundreds of millions of guns.
Going to have the guns.
There's also there is also
a bunch of people in the Midwest shooting at the police as they come to take their guns.
Yeah, I mean, there's hundreds of millions of guns in the United States. Do you actually think a law-abiding citizen is going to give up their firearm? No, they'll hide it. It's just, and
but
you
then
take.
It would be law-abiding at that point.
Yeah, I mean, but it goes against the Constitution. So in my heart, there's still a law-abiding. But I think, like you said, just the criminals would have it. I mean, and this is the one thing people want to bring up Canada, and it's obviously not as a relevant thing. But as someone, I'm not going to talk about the particulars. As someone that knew someone that got robbed at gunpoint by an Uzi in Canada, in Alberta, couldn't protect himself. Bunch of, I don't want to get too particular, but bunch of gang members went to his house, robbed him at gunpoint, couldn't do anything, and they left. I mean, do I want to be put in that situation where I can't protect myself? It's just like, I don't know, there's no perfect answer here, but I think a gun course in an academy, like 6 months a year, might mitigate some of this. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and exactly. It's not like you can ban it, melt them down. In a perfect world, I'd actually, you know what? This might surprise you, Evil. In a perfect world where you could get rid of everything, I say fuck it. Get rid of everything.
Yeah.
Because that would mitigate it. I enjoy my gun.
Be much less cowardly. You're not just going to be able to cock and squeeze. You're going to have to grab something, and you're going to have to do your murders the old-fashioned way, and you're going to have to look into the mirror of your soul as you take someone else's. And believe me, that will lower the murder rate immediately.
Yep. Absolutely.
Shout out to Blind Bat for being the catalyst for tonight's discussion. We could get rid of all the guns. We should get bows and arrows.
Yeah, you got to be quick with the reload. Hey, you know what? With the crossbow, I hate to say with the crossbow these days, they're like kind of guns in a way. It's really quick to reload. But anyways.
Hey, man, you can go to the Osaka Continental.
Yeah.
John Wick will be there, and he'll be protected by people with bows and arrows. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. I mean,
you know?
I just think...
Ask people in the UK, JL. In the UK, knifings are all the rage.
Yep.
And they look at knives the way we look at guns.
Yep.
He says a musket over bows and arrows. But again, the musket makes use of gunpowder, which, technology demands that we improve the technology. We'll be right back to guns.
Yeah. But that would be a perfect world, which won't happen. I just, it's very sad in a way that I saw in the media that there's more conversation about the gender of the shooter, where I'm like, you know what, I don't really care in my eyes if they're male, female, a fucking helicopter. I don't fucking care what you identify, fuckface. I'm just glad you got two in the fucking back of your head.
Getting too close to low T.
I'm sorry. I have no love lost for pieces of shit that go into a school and end children's lives, 9-year-olds.
Who am I kidding?
But,
we're getting demonetized for this video.
I mean, it's like, go to the Patreon. I'm going to calm down. I'll let you take the reins. I'm getting a little heated. So, I'm going to mute myself for a second.
I mean, look at the subject. I mean, absolutely. We're definitely getting an orange or a red icon for this. Shout out to everybody that know what that is. But yeah, man, I definitely feel you. But continue, Cap.
I think when it kind of comes down to it is we've gotten into a place in society where people, if they feel I'm trying not to get us demonetized here. If you feel like that way, right? If you're angry at the world, take yourself off the census. Don't take anyone else with you.
Do you know what I say, Cap? You know what I say, Cap? I always say that if you are going to do a murder-suicide, start with the suicide.
Absolutely.
Start with the suicide and then do all the murders after that. M. Cross, how you doing? I'm not American. What I found weird was how Audrey had all the time in the world to shoot the school entrance door. In our school, we had armed guards at the campus and each building entrance.
Wait, where are you from?
I don't
That's
know,
actually
like
good.
fucking Medellin, Colombia. I don't know. Where are you
I,
from,
I,
M Cross?
the cross, yeah. Like, I don't want to get too. Don't dox yourself.
Yeah, yeah, no, right.
A bit like, country. I don't think we'll be able to trace you through here.
When you're talking about Chris Benoit, I want to make it very clear. The dude had extensive brain damage. That dude was not rational whatsoever. He was not rational whatsoever. M Cross is from the Philippines.
Philippines.
Shout out to everybody around the world that has discovered us and have seen fit to support our platform. We do appreciate every single one of you. All of you troll ass haters.
We love you too.
You too.
Love you too. That's actually another thing I want to go into this conversation is people bring up armed guards. And I actually think we're getting to the point that might be the best option here. And I know it might not be completely feasible, but if our government is going to send hundreds of millions or billions of dollars overseas to take care of countries that, with all due respect, it's not ours. Why don't we kind of have something in place to have better security within the school system? I don't know about you. Did you have a metal detector in school going through?
No, actually, I remember when I was in high school, I went to James Monroe campus in the Bronx, New York. And at the time, they had the best baseball program in the city, so that's where I wanted to go. And then I had some external circumstances that prevented me from trying to play baseball at a high level. But I remember this one kid caught a $150 from a razor in the school. And I remember feeling sick that day, and I went to the nurse, and he just saw the trail of blood from their face being opened up on the side. And, there's a lot of blood vessels in your cheeks. And the blood was just like a trail.
Yeah.
And not long after that, we had metal detectors and wands. But that was like the 1990s. Nobody brought, like, even the most gangster thug niggas never brought guns to school. It never happened. They might bring a knife. They might have a box cutter. We never, like, I'm talking about the roughest, just the worst situations you'd ever want to be in that I came from. And niggas was getting shot in the hood. They just wasn't getting shot in the schools.
I mean, it used to be just known as a zone that we don't do that shit. And I think due to social media, due to the desensitizing of our society, it's just, I don't know, it's just not as frowned upon as people say. Like, for the youth, I don't know, it's just weird. And I'm talking about not like, obviously it was a 28-year-old did this incident, but I think around my age group and lower, it's not something clicking up there for some of these people that I've noticed. And I don't know if it's, like I said, the internet and the lack of physical person-in-person contact that creates this type of situation. I mean, I don't know. I mean, looking at the message on Facebook from that trans shooter, they were obviously doing this as a reach out, as like some blaze of glory type shit. As someone that has interaction with someone every day, like me and you do, right? Just me, like I could never in my world, right? Like if someone came to my house and wanted to try to take my life or my wife's life away, I'd have no problem blowing out their brains and pissing on their corpse. Now, I would probably have issues after the fact because there is an empathetic side.
Corpse, then you're going to catch that murder charge.
That's true. But
Brad, we're going to get to your comment later in the show. I don't want you to think that we're ignoring your comment, Brad. We will come back to your comment later because it is actually something that needs to be talked about as far as the content that we're going to have. But, just kind of stick with us, Brad.
But I think when it kind of comes down to it, it's still going to bother me. I took a life. Like, there was that one shooter, wasn't it in Minnesota? The one guy that, like, the hero in the mall that he ended up shooting somebody that was trying
the
to
dude with the weird last name that we both couldn't really pronounce. And I think it had
I
like an
forget it.
80% accuracy at like
Yeah.
200 feet or something like that.
The difference is like he's an empathetic person because he didn't even want to talk about the shit. He didn't want to go on a press run. Didn't want to go like on Fox News or some conservative.
Yeah.
Like he just like, it's bothering him. We had to do that because at the end of the day, you're looking at that person and you're taking them off the census, regardless of how horrible of a human being they are. You are still taking a life.
Wait a minute. So, are you saying that Cal Rittenhouse could have acted in that way? Are
Not
you
gonna
saying
go
that
there.
it's possible that he didn't have to make the conservative rounds and talk
That
all
was
this anti stuff and anti this and that and be used as a political puppet? Because now that I think about it, Cap, if Kyle Rittenhouse didn't do all of those things, I might have definitely given him the benefit of the doubt after the fact.
Yeah.
If he'd have been like, listen, I did what I thought I had to do in the moment. I know I wasn't supposed to be there. There was a bad situation. I'm traumatized that 2 lives were taken and someone else was maimed, and I was the one that had to do it. I would have looked at him completely different.
I would agree with you, and my biggest thing, if you break down that situation in a vacuum, he was justified, but I think what makes him look bad overall, being there in the first place, and secondly, I didn't like the press run after the fact. I thought it was tasteless. Like, to be fair to him in this, I'll give him this, like, the media had that narrative out there, so I guess some aspect I could get him wanting to respond. But if that was me, I'm just like, I'm not looking to make a press run off someone's funeral, like, regardless of how much of a piece of shit they were. Like, I'm not looking to do that. Like, I'm gonna just, deal with that grief. As foolish as that might sound to people, that's a difficult thing to do. I'll deal with it and kind of deal with it in private. But unfortunately, we live in a society that's very self-indulgent or very self-consumed in a way that they just want to kind of monetize any situation they can, and that's a problem I had with that situation. If I'm being honest with you, him going on Crowder, I saw someone comment about Steven Crowder, and if you've ever seen me on this show, even as a more of a conservative leaning person, while he's talented, I also think he's a hack, and he profits off of people's pain. And
Right,
he profits off of
a lot of the enmity between the with all the partisan strife that's there. He's definitely caking it up off of people's fear and their hatred and their sorrows and their struggles.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and Banner, hopefully you watched.
Man, we couldn't ask for anybody better.
Hopefully, Banner, you kind of checked the video out yesterday regarding.
I think Alex Jones actually believes in what he talks about. JL.
I don't.
Crowder, I think, is more of somebody who panders.
I don't think Alex Jones believes his shit. I don't know. I don't. That's hard to. We could have a whole different conversation about that, but yeah, I mean, and as for Blind Bat with the Uzi, I mean, personally, I believe you should be able to have any firearm you want to have, but
I wouldn't use it for duck hunting, though.
Yeah, not very accurate. Not very accurate. So.
Oh, Xenon with the coup de grace for Kyle Rittenhouse's employment prospects. Kyle Rittenhouse would have no choice but to run for senator after an incident like that. Only way he ever gets a paycheck. I mean, you see what that liar Santos did, George Santos.
Yeah, George Santos.
Like, listen, y'all can't get rid of me. And I can make $174,000 a year for the rest of my life now.
Well, when I look at getting back to this shooting situation and the trans shooter, do you think politics has gotten so divisive that it incentivizes people like that, like this type of violence?
Yeah, there's money in it. But I have to say this, and this is you guys already know this is the home of the cold truth and the hot take. I'm gonna go. This might be a mixture of the two. I want definitely a hot take. Conservatives, y'all are some coward ass motherfuckers to leave Kyle Rittenhouse hanging, because this motherfucker is talking about, I can't make any money, I can't get employed. I thought that you guys were, the business and the fiscal people. Y'all can't find a job for that motherfucker? Because listen, I want that motherfucker employed before he takes out that gun again. All right? He failed as a SWAT officer. I really don't want him to take that gun out again. One of y'all MAGA motherfuckers, give that motherfucker a job, please. Please.
Well, so what do you why do you think, because there's a manifesto that's rumored to be out, apparently the transgender, sure, I'm trying not to say the names, I don't like glorifying the fucking person if I'm being real.
I mean, but the thing is, you're not glorifying the person, they're already dead, so
Well,
they can't hear you.
So Audrey Hale, the woman that was shot, the one who did the shooting, is I mean, had a manifesto, targeted school she went to, apparently shot, like she was getting counseling from the pastor of that school. And one of the victims was the pastor's daughter. I mean, how evil of an individual do you have to be to murder someone that has nothing to do?
9-year-olds?
Yep.
Because from what I understand, the shooter was shooting at any child, so it might have been a coincidence. They were shooting at any child that they could find. They also shot the headmaster too.
I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think that would be a very weird happenstance if someone was giving you counseling, probably met the child before and ended up shooting and killing the child.
Yeah,
so
I think that they were aiming at every child that they could, according to the police.
I mean, you know, it's just disgusting.
Yeah. I heard something about Audrey being upset about the death of somebody that they were intimately involved with. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't. Still doesn't justify that shit. That's crazy.
No, but you know, these are some of the things. You know, obviously, everybody's scrambling to find out as much information as they can to piece it together. I mean, JL kind of cuts to the chase here.
Absolutely.
One time I met a guy who claimed he was a conservative and had a baby mama. I was like, how is that possible? That doesn't mix. That is good. That is so good. I'm going to disagree with you, JL, for one reason. When these shooters commit suicide by cop, more often than not, it causes PTSD in the cop that was forced to put them down.
Yeah.
So I know that we all want to have this sense of justice, like, oh, you're a coward to take yourself out for somebody else before somebody else could. But remember that taking a life is very, very difficult for the vast majority of people. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah, it's not anything easy to deal with. There's not an easy answer here when it comes to the school shootings. I mean, you could get armed security, but that's going to cost money. I mean, I wouldn't mind my taxpayer dollars going to that, right? But, you know, is that going to prevent every shooting? No. I mean, we have a
people go to do those things,
society problem.
They're ready to die.
Yeah.
So that kind of again, and you know, they've done numerous studies throughout the decades. Punishment and the increase in punishment do not lower crime rates.
No.
Boosting people's well-being, feeling of well-being, and their economic prospects, that decreases crime.
You know what? And also in certain countries, when you commit crimes, you lose a hand, or you.
I was gonna say,
you get hung at the gulag.
Yeah.
And I think we got to start being more, you know, stop putting people in jail and then letting them out 25 years later. Right? If you commit a certain heinous act and it's undeniably proven by DNA evidence or on film that it's you in HD 4K, why waste tax? I got a perfectly good 1911 right there, 45 ACP I could put in the back of their head and call it a day.
Well, here's the problem, Cap.
Call it a day.
Deep fakes, Photoshop, Premiere.
That's what I'm saying. DNA, video.
You're saying, you know, on camera. And the thing is, people can place your DNA. We've seen cops do a lot of, you know, placing evidence at scenes usually drug evidence to try to
listen.
hem up
I know
people
you're bringing reason. You're bringing reason. I get it. Yeah, I gotta be the devil's advocate. I'm saying in a perfect world where I know that motherfucker committed it, just put a bullet in their head, call it a day. Take them off the census. They're not. I get where you're coming from. All jokes. I get where you're coming from. I agree. It's like you can't really go that far left.
Shooter and they're shooting and they have the gun in their hand. And they put the gun down, blam, in the face.
Yeah. I mean, it's just sad. And unfortunately, this ain't gonna be the last shooting this year. Let's just be real. It's not.
Well, we're gonna get into it, Cap. We're gonna get into it. So check this out, Cap. Tennessee Representative Burchett says school shootings, we're not gonna fix it. After the Covenant school shooting on Monday, Tim Burchett, a Republican from this state of Tennessee where this tragedy happened, resisted calls for stricter gun control measures. Rep. Tim Burchett, a Republican, Tennessee, on Tuesday doubled down on his comments that Congress is not going to fix the problem of school shootings, saying that the country needed a real revival. Sounds religious rather than gun control legislation. Earlier this week, a shooter attacked the Covenant School in Nashville, killing 6 people, including 3 children. In the aftermath of the rampage, the 3rd school shooting in the country this year, lawmakers returned to their well-trodden positions in responding to gun violence. Democrats called for stricter gun control legislation, with President Joe Biden urging Congress to pass an assault weapons ban. Some Republicans shifted the blame away from guns, instead pointing to the shooter's gender identity and mental illness. If you want to legislate evil, it's just not going to happen. We need a real revival in this country. Let's call on our Christian ministers and our people of faith. Oh my God, Cap, I want to shoot myself. Do you really think that we need more religion? Do you really think that more religion is going to solve our problems? Come on.
Actually, I listen. I hate to say it,
because we have other countries that don't have religion, that don't have this fucking problem.
I hate to say it though. The moral fiber of this country is kind of fucked. And but you know what?
Moral fiber and religion, two very different things.
Somewhat. I mean, listen. I went
religion. You think I don't have morals?
I mean, I hate to say it this way, but no. But I think, I think when it kind of comes down to it, I do think, in some aspects, religion is a good thing. But then let's also not ignore the elephant in the room, that you have certain denominations and certain religions that incite violence, or they might not shoot kids, but they do other things to kids. So I don't want us to get demonetized if I'm going to say what I'm going to say, but
mad at me.
It should be. That's right. Stop shooting down the white man. Let the white man speak on the black platform.
Hey, man, I've seen too many innocent men spend 30 plus years in prison only to find out that they didn't do it.
No, so, I get. I mean, but I think
evidence, withheld evidence, lying on the stand, the whole 9.
Well, I get that, but mine was more of like a perfect world scenario where you see the dude right there, Hale 2 seconds later, boom.
Hale is way too late. You're late.
But I think when it kind of comes down to it, I do think some of the issues that we have faced in this country and the rise of lack of faith in God. Now, you're not going to agree with that, I know, but back in the day when there used to be guns plenty, people dealt shit with their fist. And I do wonder, and maybe this is just more of my reason for it, I do wonder if the lack of belief of God makes people feel in a way that there's lack of consequences for their actions, if that makes sense. I'm not saying every single person that doesn't believe in God doesn't have moral fiber, because that wouldn't be true. But I do wonder in some aspect if we're getting more crazies, because before they'd be kind of used to, like, they'd be afraid of eternal damnation, where now it's like, oh, well, there's no consequences. When I'm dead, I'm dead. Who gives a fuck? And I wonder if that's playing into it at all, and maybe that's just a subjective take.
I mean, it is not the worst question I've ever heard asked. JL asked the question: when do you think the shooting fad really started? I'm going to
Columbine.
go. Oh, I would probably say 1997. I'm going to go back to the year 1997 for two reasons. Number one, the the two kids in Colorado, they're not just infamous. There's a low level fame that they still carry with being kind of like the original school shooters, so to speak. I mean, there were other shootings that happened in the past, but that's the one that really sticks out. The casualty rate was stupid high, and they were privileged young white men that drove late model Mercedes Benz to school. Um, and I think that, I mean, when you think of Columbine, you don't think of a town in Colorado. You think the shootings, right?
Yeah, no,
So,
that's true.
but also 1997, that gangster rap shit, man.
You know
Like
what? I hate to say it.
at the, that
Yeah.
it really blew up 95, 96, 90, 97, 98. The summer of 97 and 98 was some of the most gangster. The, everybody was like rapping, to lyrics and pantomiming lyrics from even some of my favorite rappers from back then. So
I mean,
I
like,
just kind of
listen.
think that the culture on both ends kind of came together at the same time.
I mean, you had someone like Tupac, rest in peace to him. But let's be honest, like,
was
did he?
killed there.
Yeah, but did he grow up in that life, or did he go into that life?
I'm not actually sure. I do know that
Like-
he went to
Like, he went to an
pretty
arts,
high
yeah,
level, art
yeah.
school,
I mean, he got
but it
put
was still
into.
Baltimore. So Baltimore is still Baltimore.
I mean, I just, in my opinion, you have people that either born into that life and go into, like, you got the John Morants of the world, flashing guns on Insta, like, make real smart individuals. But, I hate to say, like, the old man in the room. I think I just think the desensitization of all youth, like, when it comes to shooting games, music, everything. And this is someone that, like, has played a lot of Call of Duty, has played a lot of Battlefield, has played a lot of stuff.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I hate to say it. Maybe because I was just able to digest it and differentiate it, doesn't mean other people are able to do the same thing.
But the vast majority of them are able to do the same thing. And the connection between video games and mass shootings has been disproven a million ways to Sunday. They've done they've actually done surveys among living mass shooters. Those motherfuckers didn't even play video games.
Right. But there is going to be some tiny influence, right? Just kind of like how you're saying.
Nope.
Right.
No influence whatsoever. It's been disproven a bunch of times, Cap. There's no connection.
Okay. Hear me out here, because I'm going to get pretty military with this.
Uh-oh.
In the military, right? I'm not necessarily just saying mass shooters. In the military, they have you play Call of Duty and other stuff, right? Because it's propaganda. Let's be honest, and it's also, it kind of desensitizes you in a way. Because, like, what do these people do? Like, I knew people in Afghanistan. Rest in peace to Justin, who went over there, Middle East, and what would they do when they got off their patrol? They'd be playing motherfucking Call of Duty, shoot people. Mm-hmm. And I think, while I'm not blaming video games, it's not a boomer take here. I play video games. But like you said with gangster rap,
I mean, you're hip. You got an old man hip, so
that's fuck off. Gangster rap, like first-person shooters, Grand Theft Auto, violence just overall in media, right? TV shows, movies. I think there's not just one particular thing to blame. I think it's it's encompassing everything in our society, where we're far more prevalent showing violence, bloody and gore, right? Where before there used to be some type of censorship in a way, right? Like, like in old films, you couldn't even cuss, you couldn't like show certain things, you couldn't even show pretend husband and wife activities, right? Like, it would just cut off to the scene where they'd go to bed, and then you kind of just the insinuation of that happening, right? Like, it's just the desensitizing of this generation, and I wonder if that has a played effect. Now, I'm not a psychologist, I don't have a doctorate, I'm just a fucking asshole that drives a boat for a living, right? But when it kind of comes down to it, I wonder if that has some effect into why we're seeing this. Oh, sorry.
Well, I'm going to mostly disagree with you,
Sorry.
but here is where I think that you might have a point. Because first, let me make my original point. I really do believe that the Columbine shooting. Uh, Also, we got to look at the Oklahoma City bombing as well, because those names live forever.
Yeah.
Those names live forever, and so I think that the trend started when it was like, okay, I can get the whole country. Because remember, you had the World Trade Center bombing in '94, and that was a big story. And then you had the bombing at the Olympics in '96 in Atlanta, Georgia. And then you had Columbine in '97.
Right.
Columbine in 1997 made you forget that there was a bombing at the Olympics in our country, and they tried to take the towers down from the bottom. We forgot about that after Columbine. That's how captivated Americans were at that time. And so, if you think that you can get your name etched in the record books forever, you're not going to think that your name is going to be etched in the record books forever playing Call of Duty, because they're going to release a new Call of Duty the next year, and nobody cares who's at the top of the leaderboards then. Nobody cares about how many nukes you had in the last Call of Duty. We're on to the next one. So, but the two guys, what was it, Klebold and the other guy, but those guys live forever in infamy long after they're gone. Long after they're gone. They continue to live on. So they're like, oh, the copycats are like, I could be talked about on the 24-hour news cycle. Everybody's going to know my name. And remember what I told you about introverts. They tend to be violent extroverts.
That's
so
true.
It's like they've gone through their whole lives being invisible to the world. I'm going to make sure that somebody remembers me. And if those two guys, these two outcasts, these two, socially inept turds can live forever, I can live forever too. And if you looked at the text messages that this Audrey Hale person left, trying to prepare their friends, something bad is about to happen. Very good point by Lavaris. Talk your shit, Cap.
I mean, I think when it kind of comes down to it, I don't know, man. There's just so much at play here that I wonder what's affecting society. There's first, like, this many shootings. And while I think addressing some of the gun issues would solve it, whether it be courses to go through it, I don't have the answers. I don't know. And
I do think that you made a good point, Cap, about the movies. Because that's where I'm going to concede part of your point. I don't think the video games have anything to do with it or anything like that. But when you look at our choice in entertainment, we are desensitized. I mean, is there a bigger John Wick fan than myself?
Nope.
I mean, I haven't gone out there and,
No.
erase somebody off the census at this point in my life. But I don't, if you go from the first movie to the second movie to the third movie, escalation. We're all, busting figurative nuts for every kill, and they make the killing in the movies just almost as if you're just taking out a bag of garbage to the curb, right?
Yeah, I think it just overall, as we've gotten, I'd say, more cavalier with showing injuries and gore, murder on various different mediums, violence has gone up. And I also think the pandemic has not helped. I think when the pandemic happened, you're already having some people that are probably having trouble socializing and completely isolated from society. And I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, studies going decades down the road, how much of a uptick in violence compared to maybe a decade from now. I mean, hopefully it keeps going on the decline, but I think a lot of this just does not help, personally. And it goes into the argument, should we start censoring stuff? And I think we both agree. I don't like censoring things, right? Like if I watch a violent movie, I play a violent video game, I watch a violent TV show, I understand, or listen to violent music, right? I can understand. I'm not going to go out and do those acts, so I shouldn't be paying I shouldn't be paying a certain toll, or can't listen to certain things or watch certain things because someone else can't handle it. I mean, I don't know, because the only way we get kind of clearly away from this is if we start censoring everything, and I don't know if that's the best foot forward either. You know,
Lavaris, what I'm going to say to you on what you just said, because I'm not going to put it up on the screen, Lavaris, this is something that we could talk about on Patreon. So definitely, guys, if you have yet to do so, the link is in the description down below. And I'm going to keep plugging that shit, not necessarily because we want the money, but because we have a little bit more freedom in the things that we can and cannot say over there, and the type of topics that we can and cannot talk about. What you just talked about, Lavaris, it's a real concern.
Yeah.
But we're not going to talk about pedo bears. We're not going to talk about this on YouTube. Again, for those that don't know, the link to our Patreon is in the description. At the noob level, at $2 a month, you do get some exclusive content that's too spicy for YouTube. You get your own Discord chat room and the Talking Shit Discord. At the $5 level, the Shooter level, which our friend Dan Jensen resides, you get half of all of our low T show podcasts that we do where we really let loose. And when I say we, I mean Captain Paul. In the $10 dog water level, we have a lot. We all of the exclusive stuff, some of the stuff that the noobs and the shitters don't get, them dog water mofos are gonna have access to all of it. We're gonna have a bunch of different events that we will not talk about on YouTube because it involves DCMA.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely the link is in the description on our YouTube channel. Unbecoming says the solution isn't to take away the guns, it's to foster a community where people don't need to resort to them. Can we talk about this, Cap?
That's a perfect world type situation. That's like a situation where everybody could resolve confrontation or maybe disagreements in a civil manner. I mean, I'm going to be very frank here. In the United States, our politicians don't even solve things civilly. So how can you expect the general population to do the same? And I'm not saying that everyone follows what politicians do, but it just kind of shows some people, regardless of how much evidence or even how civil you debate a matter, will bring it and escalate it to another level. Now, I agree that, yeah, we should foster a community where you don't need to resort to it, but that's just a perfect world that would never happen. Because
I disagree, Cap. Continue. Sorry.
I just don't think it's a perfect world. I don't think it would happen. I mean, you take away the guns, let's just make that an issue. Get rid of that guns altogether. In UK, where they still have conflict, they still have knifing stuff. Human beings by nature are very, conquer type behavior. Like, they're gonna fucking try to dominate another individual if they can. Some people just have that within them, that if they're gonna commit an act and they're gonna do violence, they're just gonna do it. Doesn't matter how rational that is, or how irrational it is, I should say. Just in some people, that's in their soul. Violence is in a part of their nature. But I mean, if we could foster a community where that we don't have these shootings, absolutely, I'd be for it. I just don't know how we would do that.
Well, first of all, I don't think that it's a perfect world situation, because when we had more communities, the world wasn't perfect back then. So I think that that's a little bit of a cop-out to say, well, we live in modern society, we don't have communities anymore. No, I think that going back to communities, because you're the one that brought up the whole religious thing. I think that is definitely more useful to bring back community and village raising the children together type of mentality than bring back what many more people believe is, a fictional deity, like a godfather in the sky type of deal. So I think that it has been proven over many generations, regardless of whether the civilization had gods, where they were polytheistic, where they only believed in one god, which is monotheism, or something, where they celebrated or worshipped the environment, or no god at all.
Yeah.
The thing that worked the most were communities. And so we can tell that there are communities out there that work, because let me talk about people that I have had a chance to observe right here in my city. Orthodox Jewish people. They have very tight communities. We don't see mass shootings coming out of there. We don't
No.
see mass this or that. We don't see, no, because they take care of each other. They make sure that the people that don't have are taken care of by the people that have. They're very protective. They're very close knit. Everybody works to protect the children. So to say that that's a perfect, society type of situation, but I see actual evidence to the contrary. Even more secular Jewish people, the people that I work with in my business away from YouTube, and I look at the way that they treat each other and how close knit the communities are. I mean, they're kind of looser than the Orthodox are, but they are closer knit than your regular white people, or really anybody else. In times of trouble, they're going to band together. They're going to protect their own children. They're also going to protect their neighbors' children. So they don't have massive, weird, violence stuff going on with them. Normally, the violence is happening in their direction from external sources, not from within. So I don't think that it's a perfect world situation. I just think that we need to hold ourselves as a society to a higher standard and stop trying to destroy the nuclear family. Because if we stop trying to destroy the nuclear family, we have a better chance of getting families together to create communities.
Actually, I would agree with that on that aspect. If that, I didn't really think of it in that way, as if it's more of a community base where you actually have traditional families and traditional family values, and you have a group that is supporting and caring about one another. Because I do think one of the issues that we do face is that a lot of people just isolate now. So it's a thing, and there's actually something I wanted to talk about here. Xenon put it. Parents should be controlling the content their kids see. There's a huge lack of parenting, though.
I could not agree more. How many fucking squeakers do you hear on the mic when we used to play Call of Duty? Those kids cannot go there and buy the games. Their parents are buying the games for them, and it says M for mature, 17 plus. And you have 5 and 6-year-olds on the game.
Yep.
They don't earn the $60 to buy the game.
No. I think when it kind of comes down to it...
Start on that, Cap.
Listen, I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it firsthand, even from some of my friends I've had to call out. Like, there was a good,
Oh, that's a hot take, Lavaris. I don't think they're ready for that. I think when it kind of... I think when it kind of comes down to it is, quite frankly, parents now these days don't want to be parents. They want the idea. They want the idea of a child. They don't want to put the work in. And you know what they're doing? I'm a dog mom.
Oh my!
I
hate that.
I got banged by this dog, and I gave birth to this dog. I'm a dog mom. And
that just gave me cancer. That just gave me cancer.
Pets, you give them food. You pick up their poop, and that's all you need to do to be a parent. And then when they go and have babies, they would just want to give them pets, foods, clean up their poop, and think that's being a parent. Put an iPad in their face. Right, Cap?
And
we wonder why we're in this fucking where the kids don't even know what gender they are. We wonder why we're in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, that's funny. We're getting close to demonetization, not just by me.
She already senses it, yo. It just after midnight. I'm ill. I'm sick. And I'm just losing all control, folks. I'm just losing all control.
As the white man, let me rein it in. All right. Yeah, because I'm
a tree of low expectations.
I've seen friends of mine. I had to call them out on it. I was like, dude, like, you're playing a game with me. I'm like, what's your kid doing? I'm like, oh, you're doing this, like, because when it kind of comes down to it, I think what a lot of these kids are missing is just parents actually being present in the home. You can be there, you can be in the home, but are you present in that child's life? Mm-hmm. And I think a lot more parents are just inherently more selfish these days. And I don't think it's just this current generation of parents. It's the ones that came before, like my parents' generation. Because my parents, to be very transparent, my mom worked a job. She took a massive pay cut so she could be home every day, right? My dad took a massive pay cut to work in the Boston area so he could go to my hockey games and be a hockey coach. My dad made sacrifices that most parents wouldn't. Like, he would stay up, he would work 14 hours, then go coach hockey and work on 2 hours sleep, go back up the ball. My dad was a madman. So
can you hold that thought? I need to kill some ignorance in our chat. I need this. I need to make this really, really clear, Jo. I need to make this very, very clear to you. It says, don't get me started on the black dads. We need to do better. A majority leave and are deadbeats. This is absolutely categorically false. Even the CDC points at black men as the most involved fathers of any racial group in the country. And we're talking about right here in the United States. This is a stereotype that is made to destroy the public image of the black man. Not only do the majority of black men do not have any children at all, but the ones that are fathers, they are more involved in their children's lives than even white fathers on average.
I mean, I think
that we need to make this very, very clear. And another thing that you need to understand, JL, is that I think it was JL that said that there's a lot of dinking and dipping. When men marry women in this country, women initiate divorce 70% of the time. In the black community, women initiate divorce 8 out of 10 times. It's not the men leaving.
Well,
the men don't leave their relationships. The women are leaving the men because they don't respect them, and they're not taught to respect men.
So Jay said,
they're incentivized by the government to break their homes up because you have alimony, you have because you do have a prenuptial agreement. Even if you don't have a prenuptial agreement, you have one. You have the one that the state puts there, and the state normally says the woman gets half your shit, plus alimony, plus child support, plus she gets the assets, plus she by default more than 90% of the time she gets custody of the children. No, there's not a lot of dinking and dipping among men in general, and certainly not black men.
Listen, I'm gonna throw him a lifeline because he just said this is what he's been through. So if he's wrong, let him know. So
yeah, but the thing is, remember, that's an anecdotal thing.
Right. But I think it's good that we're breaking down anecdotal things and we're kind of having actual conversations. Getting back into the parent thing. I mean, yeah, not everyone's going to work as hard as my father. I'm not saying they should, but I mean, at least take the kid out to the park or, go to the jungle gym or something. I feel this is going to be a hot take. You know how there's nannies now? Like, it's a more prevalent type of job. Like, people legitimately...
They call them au pair now or some shit? Some stupid shit. Like, who the fuck came up with that? Like, do we need French culture just
listen,
crawling into... I'm just taking the piss.
Listen, if you have a nanny...
People, I love that accent.
If you have a nanny, and it's to the point because...
and you're a nanny?
My sister actually worked as a nanny for a bit. And the mother of one of the children didn't know how to even change a diaper. I'm like, you're a failure as a parent. Like, to me, what's the point of even having a kid? Is it just for a certain status that you're a mother? Or do you actually care about the kid? And while there's always probably been parents like that in the world, I feel like you're seeing a far more uptick in it because, let's be honest, what are we glorifying on social media? like hot women in their 30s or 40s, or that single mother life, or the single woman life, or this like the single, you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know, man.
60-year-old women, 60-year-old women having hot girl summers.
Oh my,
Jay, talk your shit. Talk your shit, Jay. Because if I'm wrong, I want you guys in the comments to come at me. You feel me?
I mean, listen.
If I'm on some bullshit, I want you guys to come at me the same way I'm going to come at you. It's all love. It's all love. What?
Listen, I think we've just become completely self-consumed human individuals with the internet. We think that our own story is greater than everybody else's, and I think that's why we see what we are seeing in politics for a lot of the cases, because they don't really care about being right or wrong. They just care about getting their narrative out. Damn the consequences. And I think it's pretty damning, if I'll be honest with you. I mean, we're probably beating it with a dead horse, but yeah, I mean,
we're beating the subject with a dead horse. Yo, dude, I just got this fucking image in my head of somebody grabbing a horse by the hindquarters and then smashing something with the dead horse.
I'm tired as fuck, dude.
Yeah, man. I mean, my imagination, man. We didn't allow TV in the home. I want to address this, and I think that you probably want to address this too. Unbecoming, I do respect you. I'm happy that you're here. I'm going to offer you some pushback. All right. Unbecoming says, I don't think the nuclear family is something to aspire to. Not right now. Think about all of this. The family, as it has been fostered, trauma, as it has fostered traumas that have rippled across generations. We need to focus on healing as individuals before we bother about having children, because you can't properly raise a child when you're broken, and most of the world is broken. You want to take this first, or you want me to?
I mean,
I kind of feel like we're going to go to the same place.
I mean, maybe don't get fucking. Maybe don't have kids if you're fucking that broken. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe wear a condom, rub one out.
So I'm. Let me know if I'm being unreasonable, Kat. Let me know if I'm being unreasonable here. In the industrialized world, in the first world, right? The majority of first world countries are reproducing below replacement rate.
Correct.
Which means that we're going to have a booming aging population with nobody to take care of them, because people are having way less kids than they ever have before. Even
Correct.
people that make a lot of money aren't making babies, right?
Correct.
So society's still breaking down anyway, even though the birth rate is very low. Now, I think that if people had intact nuclear families and they got to feel what a real family is supposed to be like, they'd be more likely to want to create families of their own. If people don't want to have children because you're saying that you need to heal first, right? If a woman doesn't heal until she's 45 and she's knocking on the door of menopause, and you have all these broken women that are not going to have babies, and then they are going to have casual sex, though, because they're not going to go throughout their 20s, 30s, and 40s without getting bent over, right? Because, again, they still need that external validation, especially from men. And sometimes you need to give up the buns in order to get that. So they're going to be adding more trauma onto their souls, because they're going to try to smash hot guys, thinking that they can get them to commit to them long term, and the hot guys are going to be moving on to the next one. And they're going to be jaded. They're going to have other trauma. Are we just going to get rid of the human race because we don't think that the nuclear family is something to aspire to? I think that that is an incomplete statement. Now, the end of the statement, I think, makes some sense when you're talking about, not being able to properly raise a child when you're broken. But the rates of brokenness in children are way higher when you're in a broken home. It is not even close. The outcomes for children in single parent and more specifically single mother-led homes, the outcomes are awful. statistically. We're talking about suicide, criminality, recidivism, education, uh, uh, self-termination rates,
Mm-hmm.
depression, you name it. The rates are much worse in single parent than in whole homes. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that if we stop glorifying single motherhood, if we stop glorifying single parents, if we stop glorifying likes and attention, and start bringing things more inward where we take care of each other, I think that more people would look at the nuclear family as something to aspire to. I think that so many people think that the nuclear family is a bad thing, and that is a symptom of the brokenness in people, not the other way
I,
around.
I mean, you want a good nuclear family, you want to have a good family situation. I'll be really blunt. Stop encouraging these women to be hoes.
And
Yeah,
the
like,
government needs to stop sponsoring it, as
yeah,
Zenon
I
said.
mean, you know, the one uncomfortable conversation that we can have here. So you say that we're not producing at a rate to replace our population, correct? In first world countries, right?
Say that one more time.
We're not reproducing children at the same rate we have. Like we're losing population every year. Once our generation dies, we're having less
Yeah,
kids, right?
yeah. So the rate of replacement to be able to keep a steady civilization, you need to have 2.1 children per female in your population.
I mean, how many?
And whoa, it's getting bad. In some places, it's as low as 0.7 children per woman. In the United States, we're about like 1.1 or 1.2 right now. In South Korea is like 0.7 children per woman, which means that only 1 in 2 women will ever have a child at all. And if you look at a woman that has 3 children, you're probably looking at 3 other women who have no children.
I mean, this is gonna be a hot take then. I mean, we do incentivize abortion in a way, right? I
Oh,
mean,
it's
that's
it's a massive thing. Yeah.
so. I mean, I think this current generation and younger is irresponsible because they don't really have to face any consequences for their actions, and I feel like I think marriage is not really a thing anymore, in my opinion. Now, obviously, I'm married and all that, but if you ask the average person, there's
They
a
don't
lot
see
less
the
marriages.
benefit. They
No,
don't
they
see
don't
the
see the
importance.
benefit, and I don't know, man. It's just absolutely crazy because, I mean, yeah, we're not probably producing at the rate we should when it comes to children, but I think a lot of the children are being taken off the census before they even get a chance to be on the census. So,
Ooh, I don't really agree with this cap, but
I mean,
Lavaris does put a bar up there. You want to address this?
purpose of Jones to help the land build factories gonna know the workers. I don't really agree with that.
Yeah,
I
I don't
mean,
agree with that.
I like okay, if you want to talk about the ugly truth regarding child labor that happened historically. I mean, honestly, that some countries are still doing, like China. I mean, in some states want to get rid of child labor laws, so we come to that
We
discussion.
covered that. We covered
Yeah,
that, didn't we?
yeah, we did. I think the purpose of children, at least, I mean, everyone's upbringing is different. It's to kind of pass upon a legacy, to have a legacy and to instill values and help the next generation to become better. That, I mean, I was raised by my mother and father. My father grew up in a situation where he had no one. And then he instilled certain values into me, and that's why I want to have a child of my own, maybe a couple, and instill my values into them to make the world a better place. And I think being more of a rational and thoughtful human being and just producing more of that would be more productive for society. Now, well, yeah, there's no more cheap labor, quote unquote, because we have laws, which we should. And that benefit, yeah, it's decreased, but I don't think it's just a production side of things when it comes to having children. I do understand where you're coming from in that aspect, but I inherently kind of disagree with it. I mean, your take on it?
Yeah, I will say, Cap, that I knew you were going to go the legacy route, so that's why I wanted you to take that because you're absolutely correct in that. Um, where I will differ from your view is when you say that there's no more cheap labor. I would say that cheap labor is more
Oh,
of an
true. By
issue than
adults.
ever
Yeah, yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
because now we have machines, and that's the ultimate in cheap labor. And so when you have human beings now having to compete with machines for access to work, and you got to compete with a robot for your livelihood, that's going to bring the price of labor down relative to inflation. So I don't know if you know this, but there's legislation here in New York to again raise the minimum wage, this time to 21.50 an hour, because people can't live on
And
$15. And the thing is,
dude, I'll be.
and the crazy thing is, when people were fighting for 15 10 years ago, 15 wasn't enough. It was like, can we at least get to the point where I only have to worry about not paying one of my bills instead of half of my bills, and $15 would get me to still not making ends meet.
I don't
But
even
then they
know
had
how.
to fight so long to get to 15 that now we're on to 21.50 and 24.65.
Yeah, I don't even know how you live in New York off 15 an hour, because it's so fucking expensive.
No, we're
It's
talking about the entirety of New York State, which is not,
say
on the average, not as expensive.
well, I mean, still, even outside the city, it can be a little bit on the expensive side of things.
Almost half the people in New York State live here in the city.
I mean, unfortunately, yeah, but it's kind of those.
You're going
It's
to be
just
one of
so.
them, Cap.
No, I'm not. Because, dude, because
We got
when I.
content to make. We got money to make, man.
Dude, listen. I'm not giving up my firearms to move to a place that's a communist country.
Cap, I'm happy you mentioned that, Cap. I'm happy you mentioned that, Cap. So, a woman that I've been connected to for more than 20 years. She sent me a screenshot of basically being approved for a concealed carry permit here in New York City. But the way that they do it here, Cap, is you have to buy the gun you want first. They don't release the gun to you. You buy the gun first, then you register to have that particular weapon license. They also kind of tell you what color the gun can be, what they don't say anything about calibers, but they say what color it can be and things of that nature.
Is it
But I
like
learned a
Nintendo
little bit-
Duckbill Orange?
No, actually, they have to be so. I'm not going to put it on the screen because I'm not going to tell her business. But
Right,
shout
right,
out
right.
to her if she ever does see this. But yeah. I'm gonna just kind of.
Dude, I would have to live in Connecticut or New Jersey. I have too many firearms. That
No,
just
listen.
would not
It
work.
says, "Dear licensee, in an effort to reduce the number of trips you need to make to the license division, we have changed our license issuing process. Please use the conditional approval letter attached to go to a dealer and purchase your firearm of choice that is compliant with New York City specific rules and regulations. Acceptable firearm colors are black, dark gray, dark green, silver, steel, or nickel. You may only purchase a new firearm once every 90 days. That's still kind of often, though. That's
Yeah,
still
I'm
kind
good.
of often.
I'm good. I'm all set. I ain't moving to New York. Nope.
Oh, the white man just came out of you just now.
All set. Done with that. Nope. I'm not giving up my Tavor. Not giving up all my rifles for that. Nope.
I don't think that you have to give up the rifles, just that the rifles have to be black, dark gray, dark
That's
green.
that's
silver,
pretty racist.
Steel, or nickel.
Oh, so it has to be black, so it's violent. That's kind of racist.
I mean, but this is the home of the cold truth and the hot take, right? So
That's I'm tired of these
the
friggin'.
purpose of children was not to help work the land, Lavaris. They were poor. If you were poor, you needed the children's help to get everything done. But it also taught the children how to become a legacy. It taught them skills that were necessary to take over, the farm, or to take over whatever the family business was when the patriarch slash matriarch, or both of them, were no longer able to conduct business. But that was a very interesting thing. I thought that that was.
Yeah, like I think we definitely had a good conversation here. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm starting to fade.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ludi. This is absolutely not true. This is absolutely not true. I think that you should probably check out the CDC and is CDC.gov and FBI.gov. This is just patently not true. It's not true. So yeah, I want to just kind of go through the unbecoming. Said we're at like 1.6 births per woman. Yeah, that's below the 2.1 that's needed. Says children bring people close. They do not make people get a burden. What are you on about? I'm not saying that. I think
No,
that
I
there
think it
are
was.
some people that look at children as burdens, and that's just
No,
kind of part of our broken society. But I don't. The thing is that it used to be the village raised the children, and I think that we need to go back to that, Ludi. I think that we need to do that.
so
I don't think it's 0.05. The Philippines, they're not really an industrialized first world country. They want to be, but I think one of the lowest is actually South Korea, and Japan is in there too. China's population shrunk for the first time in many decades. Yeah. I mean, but that's because of.
I'll be back.
But that's just because of poverty. So that's what that is about. Ludi said, "This is a hot take, but children help the family fix the problems that they are going through, and it is up to the mothers to act right. I am sick of these women trying to play teenager at age 40. We're going to agree. We're also going to agree on this too. Okay. And the thing is, old people still need their children to live. The problem is that you have this generation of women saying that we're strong and independent and don't need no man. And then they find out after age 49 that this is a fallacy. But they only find out after it's too late. So I will say that in some of the situations, children do not make problems better. Sometimes couples have problems and they think, well, let's have a baby. And then the problems get worse. And now you have, single. And then you, Jay, I think you're only allowed to have a brush gold color if you are a cartel boss. Okay. Jeremy Lewis is late as we're on our way out. About to shut it down a little bit. Xenon says, children require a lot of effort. They will make any problem worse. I disagree with you, Xenon. Sometimes that effort will make an adult out of you. Okay?
I will say this though. Some people just should not have kids. If you are selfish by nature, do not have kids.
Well, I have another hot take, but I'm gonna.
Let me know.
We
You
see
go
children
ahead.
being used as meal tickets. Every NBA, NHL, NFL draft. That is fucking that's fire, yo.
That's
That is
true.
a fire ass statement. Otis also showed up late. I think. You know what it is? They just came over from JD. JD's stream must have just ended. Shout out to you guys here, Jeremy and Otis. Lavara says, you guys know that China produced twins in an artificial womb site. Oh, no! I don't need to know that! Oh! Oh! Fuck off! Oh! Oh my god! Oh man, whoa! I think I feel even sicker now.
I mean, they're trying to put wombs in men,
Louis,
so
like I said, you need to check out CDC.gov and FBI.gov, and they break these statistics down. Single parent homes, the children do much worse.
really?
Much worse. Yeah, we don't actually have real numbers on North Korea as far as their birth rate, so we can't really talk about them. Strong, independent women want the rewards, but not the process. That is facts. Facts. And the thing is, they also want special treatment too. They're strong and independent, but when you tell them that they have to go and handle shit for themselves, they're looking to a man for protection. So, you know, so yeah. I don't know what color gun I would want. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So,
I just actually looked into it. Single parent homes also affect the kids in single parent homes are more likely to have emotional and destructive issues. That's interesting.
Yeah. Especially when the and I could tell you from experience, okay? Being raised by a single mother, when a girl is raised by a single mother, she learns how to be pseudo masculine. And so basically she's going to have a lot of trouble connecting with other girls on a social level, and she's going to have trouble with boys in her area. They're not going to like her, and she's going to end up likely having some mental stigmas where she doesn't understand why she is not accepted the way that the other girls are. And a lot of times those girls tend to be pretty violent. On the boys' side, the boys start out as children learning to be emasculated, learning to be subservient and cowardly and emotional, because obviously their mother is going to be acting with more emotion. They're not going to act with the kind of emotion that helps create a healthy young man as a nurturer, because she has to be the pseudo masculine person that delivers discipline as well. So if you have to be the disciplinarian and the nurturer, you're playing out of position. You're not going to do either one well.
Right.
And I'm speaking from actual experience. So you learn to be emasculated from a very young age. You learn to prioritize the opinions and the whims of girls over your purpose, which makes you less attractive to girls and women as you age. And because you're learning how to be more emotional and express your emotions, and of course you have the influx of testosterone, which is one of our gifts that puberty gives us, you're going to be more likely to commit acts of violence. So both girls and boys raised by single mothers are more likely to be violent.
Shit.
So they struggle with their education, they struggle to focus, they struggle with self-control, they struggle to be seen, they struggle to be heard. There's a lot of problems being raised by a single mother. And the thing is, if you look at me and my two sisters and you look at the paths that we've taken, you would understand exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. And I can tell you that I was not the kind of dude that I needed to be when I needed to be it until my father came back into my life at age 20. So my father came back into my life roughly half a life ago. And I didn't start getting manhood type shit right until after my father came into my life as a young adult.
Oh man.
I know you're going through it, man. Like this cold is trying to take over. But we promised we was gonna bring the fucking content.
Yeah, my hip's just acting up. So it's just kind of. But I mean, we did it
again. That's why you get these boomer ass takes. You see his hip.
Fuck off. Just suck a dick.
There are two other stories that I wanted to cover that I thought were kind of funny. And I think that you would find this kind of funny as well, Cap, to kind of end off the show. Okay. Some guy bought the iconic Flatiron building and didn't pay for it. So there was you guys know the iconic Flatiron building. You guys have to know. This is an iconic building, which is across the street from Madison Square Park on 23rd Street. It's at the kind of the intersection. It actually creates the intersection where Broadway and Fifth Avenue in New York City cross each other at 23rd Street, Madison Square Park, right? Iconic building, okay? Some guy bought the Flatiron building and didn't pay for it.
How?
Okay, those among us who haven't gotten caught up in the moment and bought something expensive when we didn't actually need, a want, or need. The last time I did that, I went home with a lucite coffee table that does not match anything else in my apartment. The last time that venture fund managing partner Jacob Garlick did it, he placed a $190 million bid on the historic Flatiron building, and now he has reportedly failed to make the 10% down payment for it.
Oof.
Quote, as Garlic told New York One News, quote, "It has been a lifelong dream of mine since I'm 14 years old. I've worked every day of my life to be in this position. We're honored to be a steward of this historic building. It will be our life's mission to preserve its integrity forever." Apparently, forever is exactly 1 week long. According to The Real Deal, Garlic is an unknown entity in the New York City real estate scene with a confusing past in business and a current gig at Northern Virginia based venture capital company called Abraham Trust that, quote, raises an annual vintage to invest in a truly diversified private equities portfolio with areas of interest that include technology, consumer goods, business services, real estate, food and beverage, sports and entertainment, home and commercial services, and media. So, like everything. And yet, as per the Real Deal report, venture capital tracker Crunchbase lists just one investment made by the firm. It participated in a $2.5 million funding round raised last June by a startup called FitFighter, which sells an oddly shaped free weight that was once featured on ABC's Shark Tank. As such, it's tough to say what Garlic and his firm actually wanted to do with the Flatiron building, a warehouse for the free weights, maybe. So, in the original article, they noted that the $190 million bid for the building was kind of strange because they said that the renovations that the building needs is at least $100 million. And they didn't see how it was going to be profitable. They would have to rent out space in the building to the tune of over $1,250 per square foot.
Jesus. That's
I mean, the
rough.
fuck? I wish Otis didn't leave so quick because we're about to talk about what we're going to do this weekend for our content. But anyway, maybe later. So yeah, I thought that was a really funny story. And we're gonna do a little bit of what grinds my gears before we get out of here as well, Cap. But these are things that I think that you would actually find pretty interesting. New York City trash pickup rules in place since 1969 changed this Saturday. What to know? So if you're around New York City and you've seen these fucking rats, okay, as you see in this video here, let me tell you, I've definitely seen some rats, even in some rich areas. Not necessarily in my neighborhood, because I guess they get rid of garbage differently. But yeah, it's a thing. Okay. I want you guys to see if you can spot how fucking stupid the government is here in New York City, right? Okay. Let me just skip to the brass tacks here. On April 1st, they are changing what time you're allowed to put the garbage out on the sidewalk, okay? All right. Previously, and through the rest of this week at least, residential buildings have been able to put trash out starting at 4 p.m. for pickup the following morning. The rule change pushes the time back 4 hours to 8 p.m. for those who put bags directly on the curb. If you've got a container of 55 or fewer gallons with a secure lid, it can go out at 6 p.m. Now, what do you think? Where am I going with this, Cap? What is wrong with this policy?
Put out the trash starting 4 p.m. for all and pick up in the morning. Push the back time 4 hours to 8 p.m. for those who put. That makes no difference, really.
And why doesn't it make a difference, Cap?
You're picking it up the next morning. The fuck? Stupid. I had a
So,
hang time like Prime Jordan. That's facts.
guys, guys, let's be real here, okay? Let's be real.
Dude, the rats are gonna respect the new times.
Do you think rats
Dude.
are out looking for food at 5 p.m. when the sun is
Yeah.
high in the sky?
Yeah, dude, listen, they're gonna respect the law. They're not gonna eat it. Obviously. You bigot. Why? Because they're rat? Is it because they're a minority that you have this issue?
No, actually, there might be
They
more
actually-
rats in the city than
Than
white
people. Yeah.
in the city.
Yeah, that's facts.
Like, nah, Lavaris, you don't understand. The rats in our city will. Fuck
Oh, it's
these cats
bad,
up, son.
bro. Dude. No, it's crazy because I was, as you know, I would change out in the boat in Red Hook, and dude, I saw like a rat like the size of a small fucking dog. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like they're huge, dude. And
Yeah.
you get like a
Nutria
fucking
is
cougar.
like a swamp rat that is like the size of like a mid-sized dog. I heard from like homesteaders that they taste good. Like no, no, but like let's be real here. The rats come out to eat after 10 p.m. We're talking about
Yep.
11, midnight, 1, all throughout the night, and then you start seeing them disappear around sunrise. If you put the garbage out at 4 p.m., you're not going to see any rats. If you put it up at 5 p.m., you're not going to see a rat. 6, 7, 8, maybe even 9, depending on what time
Yeah.
sundown is. You're still not going to see any rats, okay?
Right.
Like, 'cause, I mean, it.
Yeah, that's exactly
Again,
what it's gonna be. Yeah.
I mean, we need to invest in containers that are rat proof, that people can put their trash into and know that when they open the lid, a rat is not going to jump out into their face.
Yeah.
You know, replace them every 6 months or so that, like, because, the rats are going to degrade the material by urinating on it and gnawing at it. Replace the containers every 6 months. Solves the problem right then and there. I don't understand why you think that the difference between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. Stupid. I'm sorry. Like, I had
And
to
you
bring
want
that up.
and you want
That is
me to
just
move
so
to that
insanely stupid.
and you want me to move to that shithole country. God damn.
Thanks, Trump Jr. I know you.
I actually have a legitimate job unlike him. So, then daddy and
I
daddy.
mean, he
but
just got a small $1 million loan.
shit. So
I want to thank everybody for riding with us. This was not the easiest stream to have.
no.
Because the thing is, I know that people are going to look at it and say, "Oh, look at these fucking libtards," and they're talking about gun control, so obviously they're libtards. Not like there are a lot of problems, and the answers are not easy. I mean, I don't even know if we really found anything that was like really useful. I mean, we're just stuck. We're stuck in the middle,
Yeah.
Lavaris said earlier, didn't the shooter had a manifesto? What was the reason for the shooting?
It's supposed to be released soon.
Yeah,
so,
it's supposed to be released soon. JL said earlier, the society is just ruthless. We need to teach people to actually be civil, and that's part of the reason why we created this platform. Like we wanted to come back to civility. Xenon says every trans person mentally ill? You need to join the Patreon.
Patreon for that.
There.
Yeah.
This was a really good question, but we're not really. This is not the discussion for YouTube. David Banner said there is a huge case in Canada right now
Canada.
about a young man who heard people break into his house and listened to his mom getting beat up. The perps had a gun and aimed it at him. He fired 2 shots into one of them, and he's still facing charges.
That's crazy.
We don't stand for that, man. I remember we had a bodega clerk that had some simp run in there to confront him because he caught this stupid, dusty ass chick stealing a bag of chips or some bullshit like that. And he ran up on a man that was twice his age and half his size, and that dude shivved them up like they were at Rikers Island.
Bro, that dude definitely had some good combat school skills and played a lot of like Commando Pro Call of Duty.
Yeah, he definitely gave him that Commando Pro lunge from Modern Warfare 2, and they charged him, and everybody was up in arms like, nah, that dude got everything that he wanted. He got everything he deserved. In fact, I would probably say I would rather have the chick that stole the symptom in there to go die. I'd rather her catch the blade, but that's another hot take. But yeah, that's crazy shit. Adesanya got he got a gift of brass knuckles and had to throw them away to avoid charges. You can own a gun in New York City, but not brass knucks. Well, for a long time, you were not allowed to own a gun in New York City. The Supreme Court struck down New York City and New York State's flagrant disregard for the Second Amendment. So the city and the state had to develop new rules of a type of gun control that would more align with the Second Amendment, our right to bear arms. So maybe they might look at brass knucks later. Actually, it's funny. The place where the Kyle Rittenhouse guy killed those people, Kyle Rittenhouse would not be allowed to buy the gun that he shot those people with, but he is allowed to have that gun while not being supervised as young as age 16. But over there, you're not allowed to have a pistol or brass knuckles, but you could walk around with an AR-15. Make that make sense. And that's in Wisconsin, Kenosha, Wisconsin. So it's not just New York City that has nonsensical gun laws. Brad's comment is going to be part of our housekeeping for the end of today's show. WrestleMania is Saturday and Sunday. We will be hosting a Filthy Casual watch party for WrestleMania Night 1 and WrestleMania Night 2. We originally wasn't sure if we were going to get into it. I know Cap is not into professional wrestling at all, so no. Cap will not be there. He might come into the comments section and kind of interact with you guys and in the comments section or whatever, but you're not likely to see him on the show on Saturday or Sunday night. You will probably see me and Mrs. Evil here, so tell your friends, especially your friends that are part of the Off the Script podcast family. Me and JD are actually working on something where we can do some sort of cross promotion thing where some of the fans who want to go to a watch party with some filthy casuals and have some fun, you guys can watch the event alongside us. We are looking forward to it. Also, I am proud to say that you guys will be seeing us, if I'm not mistaken. We're calling it our anniversary weekend. Myself and Mrs. Evil on April 1. We are going to be celebrating 17 years as a primary unit. And as a collective unit, July 13th, the three of us will have been together. Me and the two ladies. July 13th will be our 11th anniversary. But me and the first lady, our 17th anniversary is coming up on the 1st of April. I don't even know what fucking day that is, man. Like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Oh, that's Saturday, so night 1. Yeah, night one of WrestleMania. So celebrate with us for our 17th anniversary.
So if you want to help get Mrs. Dr. Evil a nice gift, subscribe to the Patreon, because with your financial help, we can get her something substantial for only a small fee of $2, $5, or $10. And if you're feeling gracious, just really gracious in your hearts, a measly $10,000 a month is all we would need to make that house happen. We here at the Talking Shit Podcast We might not need your
Mr.
money,
Beast,
but
are you in the comments?
we might
Subscribe to our
not.
Patreon at the $10,000 a month level. You
We
got it?
might not need your money, but we want it. So,
Yeah, for real. For real.
I'm sorry.
So yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be great. Definitely come and definitely come and yeah, she definitely wants Mr. Beast to subscribe at the $10,000 a month level. So she wants to get that house. She wants to know how annoying it is to be a homeowner.
Where would you buy?
So in my mind, I have a couple of like thoughts of like where I would want to go.
I'm obviously being facetious.
Yeah. Shout out to Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
JL, I'm rooting for Izzy. What the fuck are you talking about? Anyway, yeah. So, shit, I lost my train of thought.
It's okay. Where would you buy a place in New York?
Where would I want to buy a home? I mean, this is something that me and the ladies have talked about, but there are some decent places in New Jersey, past where it smells like a swamp.
Yeah.
There are some decent places that aren't like that expensive. We thought about places like that, Westchester County or Ulster County or Rockland County or something like that. Somewhere up, that way.
I get
that. We thought about doing the condo here in New York City.
I mean, listen, if you moved to New Jersey, just be honest. Watch is taking over as the co-host, right? So, is that what this is? I mean, listen, if we want to turn into a conservative podcast, we can do that. Just let me know, and we'll be very successful at it. But yeah, so I agree with Lavaris. I think a nice double wide in the middle of a parking lot.
Do I also need a third woman who's like a trailer trash chick to like complete the motif?
Yeah.
Because my ladies here, they're the opposite of trailer trash.
Bro, you
type of
need them
women.
to be at least missing like 3 teeth due to meth or crack, either one, and then just kind of go from there.
They could suck a golf ball through a garden hose, man.
Yeah, it just when if that one of those teeth are just crooked though, it could kind of just nudge it a little wrong. But
I'm not with that.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. But I mean, I think New Jersey I'd live in, Connecticut I'd live in, but New York City I would probably not, just because
what about Westchester County or Western Long Island or out in the boonies in Queens.
I would boonies and Queens. I would live on the island, actually. Yeah, I would live on Long Island because I've done work over there. It's actually some really nice parts, but the gun laws would have to make sense for me. So
there are self-absorbed brats everywhere in this country, man. Oh, you need a broken down Harley Davidson outside too. Unbecoming says, I've lived in Connecticut and New Jersey. I keep avoiding New York, so you just skip it over.
No, just skip over. If I wanted to be really bougie, I'd move to Montauk, right on the fucking point.
Yeah, I lived in the Bronx a long time, JL. I lived in the Bronx a long time. Like I said, I went to James Monroe High School. I went to MS 143. I went to 137. I lived on both sides of the Grand Concourse.
What is all these numbers? Like, what is this? Like a fucking
public schools, because there's so many public schools that you can't just name it, your town's elementary.
You could though. Just call it like New York City High School 1, New York City High School 2.
Well, that's what the fuck the numbers are.
Yeah, it just sounds.
What the numbers are.
It just sounds pretty racist to me.
PS is public school, MS is middle school, and HS they go by names because there are not as many high schools in the city as there are elementary and middle schools. So they go by names. They give the high schools names. They don't give them numbers.
They just don't give them security guards either.
JL says, "Sorry, I am here talking shit about New York City. I've never been to the state." I mean, if we ever do a meet and greet, man, we can hang out, man.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Make a barbecue grill out of a metal filing cabinet. What the fuck is wrong with you? I live in one of these luxury buildings, so we have actual grills where you can hang out on the roof and have barbecues. We did that last year, so maybe we might do a small meet and greet for some of our Patreon people. We're looking at doing a whole bunch of events, both in person and in other places. So
I mean, in the next few weeks when I'll be able to walk and get out this fucking apartment and shit, hopefully I'll be able to. We got some plans to go see a ball game or whatever.
I got I showed you guys. Oh, I didn't show you guys. For you guys that weren't in the thingy. I'm going to show you what the New York Mets sent me. They also sent me a list of events that I can choose to go to. I was going to, because this is like my first full season as a season ticket holder of the New York Mets. So shout out to them. And fuck the World Baseball Classic. So they had I could be announced as the, what'd they say? I could have chosen to be announced as the season ticket holder of the game at one of the games, but instead I chose the ability to go out onto the field after a game and play catch on the field.
That's pretty sick.
So I chose that instead. So me and the lady will be carrying our baseball gloves to that particular game. And then, hopefully they let us keep a baseball because the baseball's never come to me. That's a lie. I had a home run ball from a former Mets player actually land on a railing right in front of me the game that Jacob deGrom nailed his first Cy Young award. That home run ball in the 8th inning hit the railing right in front of my face. This shit was crazy. But anyway, New York Mets sent me this really cool box. So shout out to the Mets. Obviously, you guys know I paid a lot of money for access. Check out this little commemorative.
That's pretty cool.
Golden ticket type of deal. And then they've got like this golden book as like a guide to my benefits as a season ticket holder. And so, this nice little commemorative plaque thing here.
That's pretty sick.
On the other side, right? So it's almost like a Willy Wonka type of thing. So it was something that was unexpected. It was really cool. There, there's a couple of other events. I also had the opportunity to go to the stadium to watch the All-Star game on the big screen. But I didn't choose that. I chose the event for the Subway Series when the Mets play the Yankees. But when they go on the road to the Bronx, I can go to Queens and then watch the game with other Met fans. And I think I chose some other shit where I get free food because I'm black, right? I mean, where the free food is at.
I've gotten 3 foul balls at Fenway. Funny enough. So
where? Green Monster or the other side where was it? The pesky pole?
Pesky pole size, but they were all foul balls. So like where I was right by the first base dugout, and I got two fly balls I caught, and then the one I was like literally coming back from the bathroom, and this is so funny. It just bounced, and it's just a reaction because I played base. I just jumped, grabbed it, and everyone just looked at me and like looking at me.
Oh, I know they cheered. Yeah,
they did, and I just put it in my pocket and went right back down the concourse, and people laughed. Dude, it was so fun. Yeah, but
that, man. Wait till you see where my tickets are, Cap. Wait till you see where my tickets are. But yeah, we're going to be doing some content on the way to games. Cap, we're not finalizing, but we're putting together some plans to do our podcast actually together in like an in studio type of deal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the plan.
And yeah, we're we got some plans to like really expand this. So if you guys want to help us expand the platform, again, the Patreon is there. You can also leave super chats. Super thanks on videos is also an option. If you want to help us make better content, but you're not in a position to donate any money, send us an email to talkingshitpodcastllc@gmail.com or leave some stories in our Discord. The Discord link is also in the description. And what that will allow you to do is say, hey, these are some really interesting subjects that are out there. Maybe you guys can make some content on this. Have you thought about that?
Yeah.
So Dan Jensen, not only does he constantly,
Yeah, he does. He's awesome about that.
yeah, he's really awesome about like super chats and subscriptions and stuff like that. But he also sends us stuff and different tips and tricks via the email. So talkingshitpodcast@gmail.com. I check it and Cap checks it.
Yep.
All right.
And also a quick thing. Got to say this again. Subscribe to the Patreon. I have a rap releasing, and Evils know what it's gonna be.
Oh man.
Just gonna can I give a slight projection?
No. Save it.
In the Trans Am.
No, save it, man. Save it.
So I've been working on something. It's only gonna probably be a minute 30, 2 minutes at most, but it's gonna be some funny shit.
Record deal off of this.
I'm gonna get big time, but yeah.
If you're on Twitch, some of you guys were on Twitch and you like really added to the conversation. Come on over to YouTube. Drop us a sub. Hit the bell for all notifications. YouTube.com/@TALKINSHIT. Come over, because we need to grow this platform. We're working to grow the platform. We want to make it so big that everybody joins the conversation and really gets into civil discourse here.
Absolutely.
We are like really, really pushing hard for that. Yes. And again, if you don't want to send us any emails, you're right here, aren't you? Like, share, subscribe. Right? One of our good friends, I found out recently, has their mama watching our shows.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, hello.
Okay. All right. Okay. One of our good friends has their mama. Like like, hey, ma, my friends, and we've been friends with him like going on 16 years.
That's crazy.
Okay? Since 2007.
Damn.
Right? So, he put his mama on, and his must be a very understanding mama.
Yeah. I mean, listen. Listen. She just wants to be added to Evil's harem. So,
Yo, son, don't disrespect. Don't disrespect my guy. Shout out to the Simplistics, man.
I'm playing.
Save that for the Patreon, man.
I'm
That was some
tired.
multi-ass shit to say about my friend's mom. God damn. My mom?